Do you put off cleaning your house? Being too busy can be a common reason, but sometimes it goes deeper. And that's something our next guest knows all too well. She has taken her personal experience to TikTok to help others tackle their messes. Please welcome Brogan Ingram to DBL.
I follow you, and I think you are such a good person, doing such good mitzvahs all over the world. Brogan, or America, when did you realize keeping up with cleaning was really, really difficult for you?
I realized it at a very young age. As a female who was diagnosed with ADHD when I was only 6, that's quite uncommon, but it did help me along the way because with that diagnosis, I learned skills and methods that worked for me and how my brain works. By the time I got to university and had a full-time job and was doing all of the things, I quickly realized just how deep that correlation between cleaning and mental health kind of laid. It was, firsthand knowledge in my life and in school, so I became quite obsessed with learning everything I could about the correlation between mental health and cleaning.
So you started sharing cleaning tips on TikTok during the pandemic, but then followers were sending you requests for help cleaning their homes, kind of just like what Tori did here. How did you respond?
Yeah, so like you said, I started with the tips and tricks and just kind of what I knew about the correlation between mental health and cleaning. It took off, and I was getting hundreds of messages and emails a day asking me for help, saying that their homes were in unlivable conditions and they couldn't get themselves out. So I used my platform to my advantage. I started fundraising to hopefully get cleaning crews to go in and clean these houses out for them. We did a couple houses, and unfortunately, just due to the toxicity levels and the hoarder categories that these houses were, I was being met with rejection after rejection from cleaning companies. So there was such a deep and dire need in my community alone. I said, you know what, I am going to do this. I'm going to start with one free cleaning, see how it goes. And that was 2 years ago. I haven't stopped doing the free cleanings in my community ever since.
Amazing.
And now I fly all over to do them.
I mean, what you're doing is just so important. As somebody that also suffers from ADHD, I definitely feel you. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine years ago, kind of before this term was out, and I'll never forget, and it applies to what you're doing. I was at his place in college, and I was like, why is your place a mess like this? And he said to me, it's because this is how my brain feels. And I didn't have a way to register or quantify what he was saying, but now that we're talking to you, it makes sense. Now, some of the homes that you are cleaning are extremely dirty, so how do you mentally prepare yourself to tackle those kinds of places?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I definitely had to mentally prepare, more so my heart than anything. I'm an empath, so when I get into these situations, I have to remind myself not to take that home with me because every home comes with its own story and, background of how they got in these positions. So it's really hard for me to kind of put that aside and not bring it home with me and constantly think and worry about them. And when it comes to the mess and the things I find, I'm pretty desensitized now as it is, so nothing seems to bother me anymore. But it is hard not to take that home with you and their emotions to heart.
I'm just watching and listening to you, and I think it would be pretty much impossible for most people to just shut that off. I'm curious, which room is the most common one that you clean?
So typically in every home that I've ever done a cleaning in, the kitchen is the worst and needs to be done first. It's just the place that most people are in all day long. You're in there multiple times a day, and you're also dealing with a lot of food that can rot quickly. So I do find it is the room that builds up pretty quickly and needs the deepest of cleanings.
And you have also cleaned a lot of houses, meaning you've helped a lot of people, which is, like Tori said, a mitzvah. Is there a specific family you helped whose appreciation has really stuck with you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody typically, you see that relief on their face. It's quite visible. I've never had anybody not cry. But there is one family that really sticks out in my mind. It's a single mom with 2 little boys, and they are both disabled in different ways. And she has actually contacted me on 3 different occasions over the last 2 years where I've had to actually go back and re-clean her place a few separate times. It breaks my heart because she's getting no help from anyone, family, friends, nothing. And there's a rodent issue in her whole building that she can't even deal with herself because the landlord won't do anything about it. So that's one of those cases that I take home with me every day, and I think about them constantly.
Unbelievable. Brogan, thank you for joining us today on DBL. To our viewers, follow Brogan on TikTok to learn her cleaning tips. Her name is Not the Worst Cleaner. Thanks again.